This is an instructional video on using Fusion 360, a quick start guide. Here we have a sanding block. It's a relatively simple design. We're going to try and replicate it, not exactly, but we'll get close. Pretty simple construction. It's a 2D profile extruded. It looks about maybe 2 inches wide. That is the theme we'll be going for. So, getting started, we're going to open Fusion 360. I'll wait for it to load. I am currently using the personal because I am not making money off of my designs. So, when you open Fusion 360, you have your base workspace. This is pretty much blank canvas. You can't see anything yet because you haven't selected anything yet. We're trying to make the sanding block, and we're going to start out with the 2D profile. So you can either go to create sketch, anything in the create tab. We want to be in the solid area. These are other options you can use later, but for basic shapes, solid with a create sketch is where you want to start. So create sketch. Now you have 3 planes you can choose from to start. When you start getting advanced, you can create other planes based off of features, tangents, middle of parts, etc. I clicked that too soon. Delete. So create sketch. I want to put it on this one. Okay, so here is your origin point. That's basically where you start from. Now, with this, we have pretty much a flat plane that it sits on, attached to a radius, and then the clamp, then an angle on the back for ergonomics. So we'll go into here. You can either click line or any one of these. The shortcuts on the keyboard are very simple. L is for line, C is for circle, R is for rectangle, and there's others, but we're just trying to get something going. So I'm going to go with line, snap to there, and now you can select the length and angle. We're going to start with the bottom. I want that to be 2.5 inches long. We'll make it 2 inches. Enter. So now that line's there. The green also means it's a construction line, so that line cannot move. If you have a blue line, not a white line, the green is more of dimension. A blue line is a free floating line, essentially. You can move it however. But we'll go here, and I want to go to midpoint, and I don't know exactly where I want the clamp to be yet, but I know I want it to be 30 degrees. So I'm going to bring it way up high, press tab to go to the angle, type in 30 degrees, enter. So as it's connected to the point, that is another construction line. It's tied, you can't move it. M is for move. You notice it changes length, but what I put in is locked in, the 30 degrees. So it's going to stay at 30 degrees, and this is just going to scale the line, which doesn't really help at all. Now, with this front part, let's figure out a height. We want this to be 0.75, 3/4 of an inch tall. Then I'm going to go here, bring it back, and I'm going to make sure that it's crossed. So this blue area, that is now a closed shape. These lines here aren't benefiting us at all. So you can either go up here to trim or press T on the keyboard for trim, and that will delete those extra lines. Cool. So I'm noticing that this angle is a little too far forward for how tall it is. So we'll delete that and go back here, and we'll make it a 45 just for simplicity. 45, and make sure it goes beyond. Enter. So that is a free floating line. If I press M, now I can move this, but it's still attached to that construction line. Delete that, and because you could make another line go from here to here or snap to close it, but that adds in another line, which later on when you go to make solids or trying to select individual lines, it makes it more difficult. So instead I'm going to press E for, no, not E, modify, extend. E is for extrude. So extend, I want to extend this line to that line. Click it, and now that is one solid line. Go to our trim, trim that. Okay, so I know this is 750 tall. The middle of it here, that's the midpoint, symbol for midpoint. And I know I want a full radius from top to bottom. So I'm going to do, because it's midpoint and the radius is half of the diameter, I'm going to do 0.75 divided by 2, which gives me my 375, and that gives me my point to draw my circle. And at any one of these, it'll tangent. So we'll just tangent down here. Now I have a bunch of extra lines. We'll go T for trim. Want that out of here, that out of here, that out of here, that out of here. You can get rid of our location line, and then we want it a part of the solid, so trim that. Sometimes you can get a bunch of lines mixed in. See how it's trying to click on more than one. So delete that, delete that. That is part of the dimensional. I'm not worried about it keeping that, so I'm going to delete those, and I'm just going to redraw this line to clean it up nice. Now that we have our general shape, let's make it a little nicer. So you can go here to your fillet. Fillet is putting radiuses on corners. So I want to go from here to here with a radius of ½ an inch. Nice slope. Then fillet from here to here. And this I'm going to go a lot smaller because it doesn't need to be, this is what the sandpaper would grip on. Do a 0.05. That seems pretty good. That way there's not a sharp corner trying to cut it. Okay, so we have our overall shape, but now we need our sandpaper clamp. And we can do a simple circle. And there's the end of that radius and the end of that radius. That line shows as its own. So I'm going to go with a circle, center point there. So now I have that. I'll trim that out. I'll trim that out. Now we have our half circle where our clamp can go in. Now, this diameter, I don't really know off the top of my head. You can go up here to measure. I'm going to click this line, and over here, I have a diameter of 668. Because it's a clamp and there's going to be material in between, we're not going to need something that's exactly that size. So I'll probably make it 625 just so there's a little bit more wiggle room. And we have sharp corners here. We don't want sharp corners because that'll rip the sandpaper. So I'm going to go here to here. We'll do 0.05. Same with here to here. Saved it. Enter. Cool. And we can either extrude that as one solid, but as the design has, there is a hollow section where it's not needed. So we'll go here and we can go to offset. O on the keyboard is also offset. Click your profile, then you can click and drag, and because these are 0.5 rads, it'll only let me go that far. So I want it larger than half a radius, so I'm gonna control click, and that will give me the specific lines. So left control on the keyboard, hold that down, click individual lines. Once you have those, then I'm going to go to offset and bring it in up. So that radius in the corner is also blocking us. So let's not include that. Let's control click for just those two. Offset. It does not like that. Never mind. Single line, offset. We'll go 0.1875, and then click that line, offset, minus 0.1875, and I'm going to do a line here, and it'll snap to 90 from that line, perpendicular to the line. I want to cross over. That gives me my triangle. We'll trim this out. I believe that is a point for a radius, I think. I don't know. Not going to worry about that point right now. Since these lines are trimmed off of the shape, I can just select those and delete them. Or you can use trim. Doesn't matter. They have sharp corners. I want to round them. Go 0.025 because it doesn't matter all that much. 3D printers enjoy radiuses. They don't like sharp corners. So the more radiuses you can put in, the better it's going to look. Okay. Now that we have that shape done, granted it is not the most optimal, we're just doing something basic, we can hit E for extrude. This is where we're going from simple solid to, or simple drawing to simple solid. Click the blue space where you want to extrude. If you hold shift, middle mouse, you can rotate. Now when you start rotating, I'm still holding shift, still middle mouse, you can get kind of lost in your orientation, right? So now, I don't know where I'm at. You go up here, you press home, it goes to an isometric of where you started from. I'm going to click and drag this. I'm I'm going to start generating my solid. I'll do 1.5 seems a little wide. 1.25. Okay. So now we have our basic 2D profile extruded to a 3D shape. But where is the clamp, right? Well, first we need to figure out where the clamp is going to mount, how it's going to mount. This is being held by screws. So we need to provide holes for the screws. Some people like using 3D inserts. Other people just like threading into plastic. I'm just going to design this to thread into plastic using 1/4-20 screws. The major diameter on a 1/4-20 screw is 250 thousandths. So if I make the whole diameter 220, there should be enough for the threads to bite into the plastic. If you want to make holes in this, there are options for making holes, but I prefer manually doing it so I can control location. You can't create a plane easily off of a round surface. You need something flat. So we can go into here. This is a flat surface. So you can essentially create another sketch onto this surface, and now you have that entire surface to go off of. 250 from each side. So when you're drawing, you can also hold left shift, rotate, and I can get kind of an idea of where that is. This is part of the design process that sometimes you don't think all the way through. 2.75 seems a little long. 0.700, sure. And then I'll go here. I'll click bottom to snap it back. I'll create a line in the middle. And that is the point I want. So we'll do a circle here of 0.220. Now I'm going to go to modify. Is it in modify? Oh, create mirror. So I'm going to select my diameter. Then I'm going to select my mirror line. And now it is mirrored exactly halfway to the other side. Press OK. Now all these lines I can get rid of. Once you have these two, you notice how the general area is free select, whereas over here that is not showing blue. That's off of our plane. Our plane is this surface. So this is not something we can select. This is, because there's a sketch on here, we can isolate these two areas. So Control click for both of those, E for extrude. Now if you go backwards, it goes into automatic cut. If we were trying to make towers with it, go the other way, and it'll make towers. Over here on your options, you have join, which makes it a part of that body. You can make a new body out of it if you're making an assembly, or you can intersect into a different body. We want to cut these holes. So go through here, shift, middle click to rotate. Yeah, that looks about right. Enter. So now we have two holes. I want to make another part. So I'm going to go to a new sketch. I'm going to hit the side of this, making that my plane. And this will make it so I can find the diameter of the circle. And I can snap it to exactly there. but I don't want to do that. I want to make it smaller. So 0.625 and gives it enough wiggle room. And then we'll cut this in half. So I'll go here, extend it out so I can select it later. Another line, back, all the way across. Now I can select this line, delete it, trim that, and just to be nice, we'll do a fillet here at 0.025. Same with here. Enter. So I'm going to extrude this minus 1.25, and because it's not touching, it's going to snap to a new body. So if I hit OK, I have two bodies. You have this drop down here, bodies. I can turn on and off visuals for each body. That way, if you're trying to just modify this and you need to do something on this side, that's not going to get in the way. But for now, all I need to do is get holes through this. You notice how we use the sketch to cut these holes? We want to do that again, but for the other body. So I can pull up this sketch, highlight over it. That's the sketch I want. E for extrude. Gonna go here, here, drag through, and voila, it's trying to cut through that. I'm gonna press OK, and now we have through holes through it all. But I want these holes to be bigger because I don't want to thread into this. We cut the holes here, that way we have the location. We'll create a new sketch based off of this surface. And I don't want that body. I want to create a circle here. 0.260. Create a circle here. 0.260. E for extrude. Select all of it just in case. And I want to cut. Enter. Okay, now we're cooking. There. Now we have our through holes and our clamp with two separate bodies. Now you can go to Utilities, Make, 3D Print, and I select my application here. So I'm going to select this body here, press OK. It's going to pull into my slicer. And I'm just going to press OK. And now I have my part. And that's how you go from idea to slicer.